as Dr. DEBAPRIYA Bhattacharya also said, that leave no one behind. So I think somewhere that focus, and we also talked about this whole framework yesterday of empowerment, equity, and inclusion, maybe taking that framework together. And because if we are bringing various stakeholders, we might get into different directions. So that would be one thing very important. The other is that I think as Professor Kundu also talked about it, and we also talked about private sector getting into, I think let's not forget the CSOs being part of it, for the reason that, I mean, many of the CSOs are into the policy space, but having their feet into the ground. And that really adds value, when we bring those actors on ground, also having, offices in different countries in South Asia. And I think on trade, Oxfam really worked well, and in inequality, many other organizations, WaterAid, So I think many of these INGOs and even the local CSOs can play a really great role being part of this network. And yeah, so yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Judy, my question is that how we can increase the awareness of sustainable development goal and the alliances which are developed in this, what we have concluded in this think tank, how we should make aware to the university student so that the development can be achieved in 2030. Could you give any sort of like design or any architecture so that student can promote this sustainable development goal and it can give a best result to the world, and we can be the example, leading example to the world?
Thank you. I would turn to my panel if they would like to respond. Debuda?
No, all this, most of them are well taken, and I'm in full sympathy with them, particularly the LNOB approach and bringing in private sector CSOs along with that. But let me respond to the young friend's latest position. You see, let me bring the Bangladesh experience on board. In Bangladesh, we have created what we call Citizens Platform of SDGs in Bangladesh, which has more than 100 private sector, CSOs, NGOs, and many others over there. So we also, just to say that we had one conference with the government where the NGOs revealed how they are collaborating with the governments in terms of implementing SDGs. NGO sector in Bangladesh is quite strong. In December, we did a citizens conference, specifically on Leave No One Behind issue. Who are these people who are being left behind? We had a fantastic citizens gathering of 1,500 people and etc. On 14th of this month, we are having a youth conference on that. And in preparation for the youth conference, we have done video competition, we have done photo competition on how the youth can relate to SDGs. We are having debate competitions. We have having debate competitions of the physically challenged people, and cycle rally, marathon, and then going to the whole day event on 8 parallel sessions. One of them on employment, the other one is about inclusivity, given the youth community itself is diverse. They are dealing with extremism and drug addiction. Then there are other issues which are out there. So what I'm trying to say here is that at the end of the day, take it from me, who has spent his life in the think tanks, at the end of the day, if there is no social resonance of your thoughts, then you are nowhere. So you will have to complement your research output with some kind of an outreach activity, if not with policy activism. So there goes hand in hand with that. Some of us, we do it, some others possibly appreciates it, but may not structurally do it in that. So if you want to do that, you will have to create that kind of a broader platform, and then Porsche's suggestion of an alliance is more appropriate in that case. Thank you.
Abid Bhai?
Yes, one thing that I missed in these 3 days is interaction with youth. So I would recommend, if the 5-6 think tanks over here, if we can have some audio-video workshop for a day. So from STPI, Pakistan can bring the youngsters from different universities in Islamabad. RIS or UNSCAP, you can bring some students from universities in Delhi, and same from Kathmandu, Dhaka, Colombo, Kabul. So let's try to give youth, hear them out and try to steer our direction in which way they would like us to go. Not only on this network, but this regional cooperation and SDGs. Of course, we would not like to be remembered as a generation that did nothing for them. And 2030, when she would be presenting the progress of Sri Lanka, so she should not get a chance to actually say that we didn't hear her out, we didn't do enough to mainstream their voice. So this is one of the recommendations that I wanted to give.
Thank you, Abid Bhai. Professor Kundu, anything?
I think before this proposed network think tank gets into comparative research studies across the South Asian countries or organize training programs or intervene in the policy making at the regional or national level, I think it is extremely important, and that's what is required, some kind of a center which can provide information, database which is comparable across the countries, programs, policy interventions, because I know we have been discussing at RIS that there is a proposal that RIS should take up this, or some center should be created which keeps the information about the different programs in poverty, in agriculture, and nutrition in different countries, because there's that, serious deficits in that. If you want to know what's happening in Bangladesh in terms of certain sectors, you might have to approach 5, 6 agencies. So this is one thing. Secondly, I can tell you there are 4 very important areas on which we do not have comparable data. Poverty, yes, we have from the the World Bank PPP figures, but they do not adjust for the consumption habits. If we have in this network, we can look at the different consumption baskets and recalculate poverty, which will be much more useful. Secondly, we do not have comparable data on urbanization. Urban data which is reported by World Urbanization Prospect is just taken on the basis of whatever definition different countries have, which is really not very useful. Third, informal sector, we don't have information. Migration, within the country migration, UNDP had a project in 2009 to generate comparable data across 5 different countries, and they failed. I have a feeling this network should be able in a position to evolve a definition of internal migration. These are 4 or 5 different areas which are directly, indirectly linked with SDGs. This information base needs to be created. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Kundu. Nazir Bhai, any point? Nothing? Professor Pushraj Pandey? No. So, a big hand to my panel for envisaging and putting this idea of a network together. We would work out the details over next few days, and as yesterday Dr. Nagesh announced, all this would be shared with you on email. So with this, we close this session, and I would like to invite Dr. Nagesh here for the final concluding session.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Excellent. So we can have a group photo, Professor Kundu?
Have requested that I understand a form has been circulated, the feedback form. If you could kindly fill it up and give it back to them, it will be of great help. Yeah.
And we would close this hectic exercise which was on for last 3 days. We bothered you not only throughout the day, but several of you participated in the breakfast seminars which we had, the dinner discussions that we had. So I think it was a very hectic 3-day which is coming to an end. As some of you are already aware, it is not just the seminar that we did, but we also explored possibility of bringing out publications and volumes. So we had a special breakfast seminar with Springer. We have already been editing a South Asia series which Springer launched with us. 3 volumes have already been published as part of this. 3 volumes are in pipeline, and we would be working with the authors and contributors very closely. There are also 2 other volumes which we have discussed. So Springer is our partner in this effort. We are also getting together a couple of other initiatives which we discussed over our breakfast seminar and of course over dinner. So very hectic and very productive efforts that we could get together. The idea of sustainable development goals and networks that we explored would also be very effective if this joint research comes up and we have substantive contribution at HLPF in 2019. As I mentioned a couple of times, VNRs are standing documents which we can compare, which are already on the table, and with Pakistan next year, the series would be complete for the region. So how region can collaborate and cooperate. As you would know, in the United Nations Commission on Statistics, the regional representation is there, and there the indicators, India was part of it, as TC Anant explained yesterday. Lot of indicators are still in tier 3. So more effort is required, more sort of focused research is required in terms of, as Debuda mentioned, in terms of reinterpreting SDGs for South Asia. So while we do so, indicators and our understanding of indicators and their limitations would be equally important. So agenda is huge. I would not be repeating myself. I would request Dr. Nagesh for his remarks, and then we would close. So Dr. Nagesh.
Thank you, Sachin. I have been listening with the great interest the discussion on the collaboration between think tanks, and I think there was a broad consensus that it is something which is desirable, which is very much needed. And I was very much struck by the interest that these 3 days, discussions have attracted and evoked. Throughout the 3 days, all of you remain engaged, and that to me was a very big indication that this Sustainable Development Goals agenda is something which which could be a very powerful axis for regional cooperation, which, I mean, trade, investment, etc., we thought would be an engine of regional cooperation, but as we know all, the results have been so disappointing. But when it comes to development, and if that is the purpose and objective, hopefully we can expect a better outcome. And so I think it is worth giving, a chance to a collaboration centered on and around sustainable development goals. And so let us work together and help our policy making processes in each of the South Asian countries by bringing up lessons and success stories and good practices from each other's countries, and how we can exploit the synergies for achievement of these goals and the shared challenges that all of the South Asian countries are facing. And I'm very much humbled by your sort of interest in assigning this role of a virtual secretariat to SCAP, South and Southwest Asia office. And I think we would be delighted to support and assist in that process. I mean, SCAP is, after all, a regional body of member states. And so all of you, and when we set up the South and Southwest Asia office with a focus on South Asia, the purpose was to do this, what we do in Bangkok for the whole region, to replicate that and more focused approach to South Asia region and be a development partner of this region. So I think there can't be a better way to achieve our mandate and deliver our mandate working with you and providing a space and forum for dialogue like this over the 3 days. And we can evolve working with you a nice structure and a meaningful agenda to pursue together. So I think I was very, very much delighted and gratified with this discussion, and we will really look forward to work with all of you. As Debuda mentioned, there are opportunities on the horizon. Next month we meet in Dhaka, then Islamabad, and so we can continue this discussion and dialogue. And hopefully when we meet in the group next time, we have much more structured work program for this think tank network. And we would have come up with a name which sums it up well. And hopefully this will be a very exciting collaboration of South Asian regional cooperation on SDGs. So on that note, I want to really thank everyone. I mean, yesterday we thanked the larger group, but today I think since morning we had some very insightful, erudite presentations and discussions. So I want to thank everyone once again on behalf of the 3 organizers and our teams.